I'm going to address the specific criticisms of my video about Phil from Duck Dynasty shortly. But first, let me just give you an update from the story that we did yesterday on Phil from Duck Dynasty and his anti-gay comments. He has now been suspended by A&E. Supposedly it's indefinitely. Nobody really knows at this point if he'll be back at a later date or if he's just basically fired. That's kind of up in the air at the moment, and a lot of people are talking about this. So A&E released a statement. They said, quote, "We are extremely disappointed to have read Phil Robertson's comments in GQ, which are based on his own personal beliefs and are not reflected in the series Duck Dynasty. His personal views in no way reflect those of A&E Networks, who have always been strong supporters and champions of the LGBT community. The network has placed Phil under hiatus from filming indefinitely." So then he released a comment to the media, and he said, quote, "I myself am a product of the 1960s. I centered my life around sex, drugs, and rock and roll until I hit rock bottom and accepted Jesus as my savior. My mission today is to go forth and tell people about why I follow Jesus Christ and also what the Bible teaches, and part of that teaching is that women and men are meant to be together. However, I would never treat anyone with disrespect just because they are different from me. We are all created by the Almighty, and like him, I love all of humanity. We would all be better off if we loved God and loved each other." So without getting into how his comments from yesterday were absurd, how could a guy not pick a vagina over a man's anus, and they're sinners. So yes, he was treating them like they're subhuman and like there's something wrong with them and gays are defected. But so putting that aside, because you already know where I stand on that, here's the question. Should he have been let go by A&E? Should he have been suspended, or should he have been fired? Whatever it is, the thing that we're talking about right now. So let's break this down in a couple ways. On the one hand, doing what they did, doing what A&E did, it does send a strong message that it's not okay to treat gay people like they're inferior or defected. That's definitely a positive thing for society. And the way that there was swift action also, I think, shows you something about how the majority of the American people feel and how the majority of advertisers feel. They're on the side of gay people. I mean, what's the recent poll? 58% of Americans want gay marriage legalized. And also, keep in mind, A&E is a private company. So they can fire people whenever they want. And I remember I saw Sarah Palin and Ted Cruz both, Sarah Palin did it in a Facebook post. I think Ted Cruz wrote a piece on it where he said, oh no, this is infringing on his First Amendment rights. But that stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what the First Amendment is. The First Amendment says that government can't censor you, not companies. Companies can do whatever they want. They can fire you for saying whatever the hell you said, period. Now, it's a different question as to whether or not that should be the case, okay? But that's the way the First Amendment works. It stops government from censoring you. It doesn't say anything about private companies. And also the irony of Palin all of a sudden caring about the First Amendment. Oh yeah, are you going to start fighting now to get Martin Bashir's job back, Sarah? Is that what you're going to do? Oh, his First Amendment rights were violated. You got to let him say it, even if it's not comfortable. He said it, and hey, he's allowed to, First Amendment. Yeah, I doubt you'll do that. And I also think that at this point, to compare gay people, to say they're sinners and to treat them like they're subhuman and to talk about them in the way that Phil Robertson talked about them, to me, it's almost the exact same thing as just speaking out against interracial marriage. Saying, oh, it's a sin for people of two different, races to get together. Now, when people hear that today, they think, oh my God, that's insanity. Anybody who says that should be denounced immediately. But for gays, because we haven't won the battle fully yet, people think, well, no, that's different. Well, no, it's not different. You're a bigot. A bigot is somebody who's married to their own belief system, and that's it. And that's exactly what this guy is, and that's exactly what everybody who's anti-gay is, okay? And I'm unapologetic about that. Now, here's the flip side of the issue. Where does it end? So in other words, A&E let him go for saying something anti-gay. So let's say I get on TV and I say the old Martin Luther King Jr. quote today, and I say that, well, I think the U.S. is the biggest purveyor of violence in the world. I think the $7 trillion war in Iraq, the 900 military bases we have around the world, the drone war that we're doing in Pakistan and Yemen and Somalia, we are the biggest purveyors of violence in the world. Should a company say, okay, I'm firing him because we don't like what he said? I mean, and you could think of any of a number of things. What if I go out there and I advocate for legalizing all drugs, including heroin and cocaine and all these different things? Should the company be able to fire me? Or how about, and it's not just about me, it's about anybody. If anybody goes on TV and says something unpopular, or let's say I go out there and say religion is mind-numbingly stupid, and if you believe it, you're a child, should a company be allowed to fire you? Now, look, here's the thing. I never said this yesterday. A lot of people who listened to the video thought I did say this yesterday, but I didn't. Do I think he should be fired for what he said? No, I don't. See, I do take it a step further. I know the First Amendment is only says the government can't censor you, can't censor free speech. But I actually think it should be extended, and it should be interpreted to suggest that private companies can't make you lose your livelihood if you say something that makes them slightly uncomfortable. So even though I disagree with this guy to the max, I do not think he should be fired for what he said, okay? And it's the old Voltaire quote. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, and Oscar Wilde said it too. There's a couple philosophers who've said it. Free speech is specifically for the people who we disagree with most. Okay? I mean, if it only protects pleasant things, then there's no point in even having free speech in the first place. It's supposed to be for the most hideous and heinous things said amongst us. So I do think, although I know that technically the First Amendment doesn't cover this, I don't think, private companies should be able to fire you for just something you say if it makes people uncomfortable.